Suzanne here. Welcome to Excel Intuition's Nested If Example 2 video. If you haven't already done so, I recommend you download your own copy of this companion workbook. We're going to jump to the Nested If 2-1 worksheet and talk about the situation that we have in front of us. We want to apply the if function strategy to a problem that has more than two outcomes that would not lend itself to a range lookup solution. And in this case, we just have three different outcomes. We're going to do step A, define the outcomes. So in this box, we've defined somebody named Joan who has a decision every Saturday morning, and these are her choices. She wants to either do a regular workout at her gym or an extra challenging workout at her gym, or go for a leisurely stroll downtown and join some friends for coffee. And these are her criteria. She wants to do an extra challenging workout if she's already dined out more than once that week, or has worked out less than twice that week. If she has not dined out more than once, but she's worked out less than 3 times that week, she wants to do a regular workout at the gym. If she has not dined out more than once, and she has worked out at least 3 times that week, she wants to reward herself with a leisurely stroll downtown, joining her friends for coffee. So step B is to create a table matching specific conditions to outcomes. So here in step B, we have the conditions. We have the outcomes in the second column: extra challenging workout, regular workout, or leisurely stroll with friends. And the conditions sufficient for these outcomes are listed here. Dine out count greater than 1, or workout count less than 2. If either of those is true, she wants to do an extra challenging workout. For the second one, a regular workout, if her dine out count is less than or equal to 1 and her workout count is less than 3, then she'll do a regular workout. However, if her dine out count is less than or equal to 1 and her workout count is greater than or equal to 3, then she'll do a leisurely stroll and meet her friends for coffee. So we go on to the next worksheet, Nested If -2-2, and we see the flow chart for this. We've got the first if function doing test 1. We're going to test for that first outcome, the extra challenging workout. And we're going to test for dine out count greater than 1 or workout count less than 2. If either of those is true, then our outcome will be extra challenging workout. If neither of those outcomes is true, then we go on to a second test, and we'll have a second if function holding that second test in the false argument of our first if function. So our second test just has to be, is the workout count less than 3, in order to tell us that she definitely wants to do a regular workout. If she hasn't done 3 workouts that week, we know she wants to do one. Now, we don't have to test for dine out count greater than or equal to 1 because we don't have to test for dine out count less than or equal to 1 because we know it must be less than or equal to 1 or we wouldn't have gotten to this stage. Because if it was greater than 1, we would have stopped here because this was an or. If it was greater than 1, we would have done extra challenging workout. So it must be less than or equal to 1, so we don't have to test for it here. And we don't have to have an and. We can just test for workout count less than 3. So I'm going to scroll down a little so you can see the whole flow chart. If the workout count is less than 3, then she's going to do a regular workout. Otherwise, if that's false, we don't have to test to know that she will choose to do a leisurely stroll because we've eliminated these other 2 outcomes. This is the only one left. We don't have to test for it. That's just going to be the value if false for the second test. Now I'm going to scroll over this way. Then the next stage after building the flow chart and labeling it is to define the actual Excel code for the test 1, true 1, test 2, true 2, and false 2. So the first test is an OR, and we've got the 2 different logical tests within the OR function. And we're basing the code on this table that we have set up. This is an example of a simple worksheet she keeps on hand, and it has the date that begins the week and then a count of her workouts during the week following this Sunday's date. So we've got 3 different examples in here of workout counts and dine out counts for these 3 different weeks, starting with these different Sunday dates. So the code that we need for test 1 is this OR function. The code we need for true 1 is the text string that would be our outcome if the test 1 was true. Test 2, we just have to test is workout count. In this case, in M3, the row has adjusted because of the formatting changing, but basically if the value in the workout count column is less than 3, then she was going to do a regular workout. Otherwise, she's going to have a leisurely stroll with friends. So these are the values we need to use in our formula. And then if we actually look into this table, well, we could, first of all, look down here. We've built the if function with the generic terms, and then we've plugged in the Excel terms for it to get the nested if function. Now, if we click into this cell, we see that we actually are starting in row 4, not 3, because some formatting has changed in this worksheet since this was written up. But the same formula is used down the table. And so you can see, for example, in this cell, we're using values from row 5 of the table, and so on. So we have results from these different combinations, and you could play around with this on your own and change the results and see how the outcomes would change for her choice for Saturday morning. Thank you.